This is Challenging the Narrative, a series that takes a hard look at some of the prevailing mindsets surrounding issues that impact our people of color in Spokane. We examine the facts and the stories behind what has occurred and what needs to be done to shift the narrative in our local community, evolving around civil rights and social justice. Journey with us, talk with us, change with us as we challenge the narratives.
So before we dive in, I want to make sure, again, it's clear. This is not going to be your typical leadership training. Like, I'm not going to talk at y'all. I want you to be present. This is not something you have to muscle through. Like, this is going to be a space where you can move. Ideally, where you can breathe, where you can exhale, where you can remember like who you are underneath what you do. And I think right now, because there's so much intensity in terms of uncertainty and what's going to happen and who's going to be here, this idea to really focus on like what you do as the thing that defines you is absolutely common. Like, I'm talking to people all day from all over the world, but it's important for us to not forget like who you are. And so hopefully during this time, we'll be able to do a little bit of that kind of stuff. So I want to start with a ritual, just to kind of, again, begin to ground us. And it's a ritual I use in a lot of my rooms to really help us begin to see each other in a more human way. And I call it my burden box. So I want you all to just imagine like there's a big old box right here, right? Like big, even though it's invisible, it has the capacity to carry those burdens that I'm sure many of you guys walked in here tonight with, that you're probably going to have to pick up again and leave with when we leave. But each of you all who are sitting on the rows, you'll notice there's little Post-its. Y'all are going to be my kind of like orienters to the row. And I want you all to just take off one, pass it down, take a piece of paper. Again, this is interactive. And I want you to write down 3 burdens that you came in here with. 3 burdens. They could be personal, they could be professional, it could be spiritual, but just write down 3 burdens, genuinely, to again, root us into why we're here. Whatever's showing up, and let the first thing that pops in be the thing that you write. That's what's going to be most true. Don't overthink this. Just simply write them down. 3 things. So as you're writing, and if you have your cell phone, pull out your notes, write it on that. Again, we can navigate all things. Oh, look at Taquana overthinking as usual. Don't overthink it. Again, what comes to you naturally, what's popping up, and just 3 things, simple. You could just write the word. It doesn't have to be long. When you finish, I want you to fold the paper up. I want you to tuck it in your bag. Again, imagine that box. If it's your phone, I want you to put your phone away. If you're feeling brave, come up and give it to me. I'll be your box, whatever, depending on how much you really want to create space for this. And let me just ask, how many of you all walked in with burdens today? Thank you. Yeah. April on her way here was telling me some of the burdens that she's dealing with. We're like, this is real. So we got to be honest about that. And collectively, you guys can all see how much you are carrying. And I'm glad that everybody raised their hand, because this means 2 things. A, you're a human being. And I just want to acknowledge that. Again, it's about how you be. And it means you're in the right room, right? So if you're not interested in navigating all the weight that we have, there's I think an event down the hallway. So if you guys want to go, but if you're in the right room, this is what it means. I just want to pause here. If anybody feels brave enough or moved enough, maybe to share one of the things you wrote down. Yeah. What's your name? Say that again. Nafmana. Beautiful. What would you like to share?
One of the burdens. I don't want to share all 3.
Okay.
Glad you said one. So the one that I would like to share is the activism that we have to right now do around immigrant refugee issues and our like birthright citizenship and all of that.
Absolutely. That's big. Definitely. Anybody else? Please. Oh, sorry. I forgot there's a mic coming around, y'all. So hold on.
My name is Jayla. One of the burdens that I'm carrying now, being a first generation college student and being so good at what I do in college now, and having like an off semester and not knowing like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting this how I get everything else. So like,
What's going on?
I'm saying,
Is something wrong with me?
what's happening?
Yes. Yes. What's happening is you are being a human being, navigating a time in this country, in this world that we've not seen in probably over 300 years. Like 250 years ago, we had the American Revolution, we had the French Revolution. And we are cosmically in the same space right now. So you are seeing an uprooting of everything we once knew. So everything you're dealing with is absolutely normal. So you got to tell yourself that there's nothing wrong with you. You're just a human being navigating a very, very heavy time. All right. So to your point, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. And if you guys see her, make sure you remind her of that as we move forward. The reason why I asked you guys to do that is because I want you to give yourselves a permission slip tonight, right? I want you to give yourselves a permission slip, and you can pick it up later if you want, although I might say leave that stuff here. But for the next hour, I just want you to be fully present. I want you to be fully connected with people who are here, who are in the same space as you, just to ensure that you all are allowing the weight of the world to just go, even if it's just for 60 minutes, right? So soften your shoulders, open your heart. Yeah, feel it in your body, right? This is the idea. How do you let yourself be held? Let yourself be held by me, by everybody here who is searching for some of the same things. All right, so hi. I know I've been talking a lot, but I want to make sure I do give an opportunity to introduce myself as your guide tonight, as your kind of fearless leader through this experience. So my name is Kibi. And as April so beautifully shared, I am an executive coach. I'm a leadership strategist. I'm an Emmy Award-winning storyteller. So I am very comfortable at thinking of narrative, thinking about ways that we can revisit perhaps old narratives that are not serving us anymore. I've worked with companies globally in finance and tech and healthcare. And my clients have worked at powerhouse places such as Netflix, JP Morgan, Starbucks, Nike. I hold a degree from Harvard University and an MBA from NYU Stern. So that's allowed me to do some cool stuff. Like I've coached some really amazing leaders, some rising change makers, some just amazing human beings. And I've coached a lot of brilliant but exhausted folks, just like y'all in this room, who kept saying, I can't afford to stop, even though they desperately needed to pause, right? And so I've fortunately been able to take all of my life experience, and y'all go hear a little bit about it later, and come up with what I like to call my rested rebel framework. And so that's what we're going to dive into a little bit today, to really make sure that you guys are aware of a new way to maybe program yourselves. As April shared, I did write about that in this book called Point Taken, which is a bestseller. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I will be selling some copies in the back if you're interested in joining. But the whole point of that rundown of my receipts is to really express and share with you all, like I've done the hustle. Like I've climbed that ladder. I have done all of the things that might be described as success at the pinnacle at the top. But I'm here today because even with all that success, I too lost myself. I too believe that rest had to be earned. And that's a premise here that I really want to begin to push back on. Because I had to learn that publicly and in a very painful way, that rest is a right. Rest is not something that you have to work really hard for and then get it. It's about repositioning it so that you're able to understand that rest is not retreat, which is why which is why we named the workshop that. It's strategy. It's about clarity. And if you don't create space for it, the other side, the consequences of that are really, really detrimental. And this is really why I'm on this mission. As Jamie shared, like I'm out here, I'm like, listen, y'all gonna leave here tonight being able to at least describe one element of you that is hopefully connecting with this Rested Rebel movement that I'm working on. So again, today's experience, it's about unlearning some of those narratives that we've been telling ourselves, and reprogramming this like urgency that we have to do everything right now. Like we can't actually create space and capacity in our lives to allow for us to lead, frankly, from a place of truth. Because this idea that you don't have time to rest, and I'm sure, I mean, this was my narrative for literally the 30 plus years that you hear me talk about the receipts. How many of you all say that to yourselves every day? I don't have time to rest. I don't have time to rest. This is what we're trying to unprogram. This is what I and my one person every day when I'm out in these communities is really trying to bring to life. Making sure that you actually do have that. So on that note, here's what we're going to cover today. Reframing rest as a leadership strategy, why you're exhausted and why it's not your fault. How do we go from this idea of scarcity to sustainability? Again, how do we create sustainable leadership? So you guys are around, your organizations are around, your movements are around. What are some tools for collective care? Not just self-care too. I want to talk about this idea of like self-care, which I think can kind of get us trapped. I am a coach that's focused on giving you practical things you can do immediately after here. A lot of my clients can attest to that who are in the room. And then hopefully we can make some rest commitments that will ripple beyond tonight. Again, I know y'all are doing me a solid by leaving your burdens here. The reality is when you walk outside, you have to figure out how to maintain your sense of excellence. You have to figure out how you do work to help protect people who are being unjustly removed from this country. Like the challenges are real. So how do we make small commitments now that hopefully can ripple and turn into big commitments? So how many of you guys know Jasmine? Yay, we got one in the back. All right, well, Jasmine Lene Bowie is actually a local person in Spokane who I had the gift of meeting when I was here last time. She's a healer, she's a guide. Her work is focused on helping people via ancestral wisdom, the body's innate intelligence, just begin to reconnect with this idea of wellness. And Jasmine unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. And I really wanted her to, but she unfortunately had to be out of town in my hometown, Seattle. Shout out to the PNW. I am from by this area, by the way, y'all. I should have said that. But in any event, through her practice, Kazuko Wellness, she is really focused on helping people reconnect. Like I said, with that voice, really helping people think about how do I heal? How do I actually re-engage with my body so I can prioritize rest? From the perspective of not focusing on what's broken, but how do we expand you in areas of softness, right? Like how do we expand your ability to access truth in your conversation? So she prepared a really beautiful short breathwork offering. And so I want to use this to allow it to guide us into our bodies, because a lot of this work is really getting out of our head and getting into our bodies, and to allow us to fully arrive in the space. And her presence today, even if it's only via her voice, is a gift. So I invite you to receive it fully. I'm going to do it with you. It is not short for a reason. All right. So let's turn our bodies and minds to listen to Jasmine.
Welcome, beloved. Jasmine here of Kazuko Wellness. It is an honor to greet you in this way, in this space, and in this time. Let us unite in breath. As you become aware of the breathing body, take an intentional inhale. Exhale, let it go. Let's take 2 more just like that. Inhale to fill the body, let it go deep into the belly. Release. Once more, maybe it comes with a yawn. If it does, let it consume you. Let the whole body yawn and let it go. Let your breath settle into a natural, sustainable place, a little deeper than that subconscious shallow breath, a little more shallow than those deep intentional breaths. find that nourishing, sustainable middle. Rooted in our liberated autonomy, may we rest deeply as a collective. Everything I offer is an invitation. Take what serves you and leave the rest. This offering is an invitation to arrive into the space, into the body, into the breath, into community. With eyes open, we let the body support you in taking in your surroundings. Without judgment or criticism, let the body move in whatever way serves you. On an inhale, I invite you to arch the back, move through the neck, and look all the way up. See what you see. On an exhale, we find rotation in the body as you look all the way to the left, maybe even slightly behind you, witnessing the wisdom around you. Flowing in your own way, begin to move through center and look out in front of you and all the way over to the right. Let the body find a soft twist and witness the wisdom around you. Passing back through center, look up once more, breathe a breath of gratitude to the space for holding this time. And with open eyes, if it feels safe today, look all the way down at this body of yours. Witness the wisdom here. Round through the spine, rock the head from side to side, witnessing sensation and stretch in the neck and the back. And if it serves you, let the eyes gently close or allow the gaze to rest softly here. Once you do, take an intentional breath. Let it be full, let it be slow, let it be yours. Full exhale. You were birthed for wholeness. Your existence is not a siloed machine-like factory operation. You're a living thing. Allow both hands to rest over the heart, over the chest. Breathe breath into the body. Fill the heart and the hands alive. Exhale, let it go. Invite the inhales to fill to a comfortable depth, and at the top, immediately fall into exhale. At the end of your exhale, begin pulling air back into the body. No pauses at the top or the bottom. Let yourself fall into a continuous circular breath, allowing air to flow in and out of the body with ease. Let this moment be yours. Let these words be yours. Let the visuals be yours. I am cyclical. Like the flowers blossoming outside, I have seasons. Sometimes I am spring. I am creation, birth, inspiration, and action. I am joy, affirmation, encouragement, and leadership. Sometimes I am summer. I am passion, intensity, abundance, and longevity. I am harvest, gratitude, lust, and curiosity. Sometimes I am autumn. I am shedding, transforming, absorbing, and preparing. I am slower, methodical, reflective, and releasing. Sometimes I am winter. I am still, quiet, recharging, and integrating. I am retreating, planning, visioning, dreaming. Each of my seasons gives me what I need. I honor my cycle. I honor my rhythms. May I deepen my awareness so that I can live in harmony with my seasons. This life is for me. This moment is for me. The movement of the world will continue. each of us in sync with our own seasons, not in competition. There is time and space for rest when my body calls for it. There is time and space for rest when your body calls for it. Each moment a soft reset, a sacred interruption, a breath to nourish and inspire the doing. I rest, not because I'm weak, but because I'm wise. Rest is not the absence of doing, it is the presence of being. Right now I am being. Right now I am enough. I am not behind. I am not broken. I am not alone. I let my breath guide me back to myself, back to my body, back to my knowing, back to my ancestors. The ones who dreamed of my rest and my ease. The ones who whisper, "You're allowed to let go. You're allowed to let go." I am resting in community. I am exhaling alongside others. I am held here. Feel the surface that supports you. Shift the hips, move gently through the spine, roll the shoulders, and move through the neck. Wiggle the toes inside your shoes and press the feet into the floor. Feel yourself here and now. Inhale and allow the arms to stretch up to the sky. Let the body be long. And on an exhale, let those hands rest over the chest. Inhale, a breath for the collective, the rested rebel, magic in this room. Soft release. Let the gaze float up into the collective. Turn to someone near you and greet them. Offer eye contact and a smile, a handshake, a hug, and say to them, "Welcome, Rebel."
Welcome, Rebel. How y'all feeling? Relaxed, yeah. Yeah, Jasmine's work is so beautiful. So if you guys are not familiar with her, please reach out, engage with her, bring her into your communities. She's such a gift. She said something that's really, really powerful. This idea of hearing the breath from our ancestors. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Our ancestors who've sacrificed and done so much for us, actually asking us to please take advantage of the privilege that my sacrifice has created for you to actually have time to create some space. So for my benefit, just to make sure we're all grounded, let's take a collective inhale. Release it together, exhale, and tell yourself, this is not indulgence. This is not indulgence. This is restoration. This is the sacred pause that we need for us to rebuild. All right. Okay, so shifting a little bit, I do want to share a little bit more about my story and this idea that we are really still carrying a lot of stuff in our lives, right? You guys, as organizers, young people, where my lovely lady went, are working hard. You know, you're carrying communities, you're holding like grant deadlines. I see a few folks over here. Planners, Excel spreadsheets. I mean, the list goes down. You've got overpacked calendars. And I do want to say something, though, to you all tonight, in my vein of being that coach that's going to call you out a little bit. And it's because it often goes unsaid. Those of you who walked in here saying you're tired, I invite you to receive this. You are not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you're doing it alone. And this is something that I heard discussed when I was thinking about what we want to talk about at this meeting, this idea of how do we begin to bring folks together? And case in point, everybody was very spread out when we came in here. And that's an example of perhaps the mindset of, I'm just showing up here. I'm going to be my isolated person. I'm going to do my little thing. Then I'm going to go back to my community. And the reality is, we were never meant to lead like that. Like, we were never meant to lead like that. Siloed leadership will not set us free. It won't allow us to be able to support the, immigrant communities. It won't allow us to support educational dynamics. It won't allow us to support young people out here who are trying to find their way, who are trying to figure out how to navigate through this time set. And the reason why is because that is a scarcity mindset. Like that is a scarcity mindset. This idea of I have to do it or it won't get done. Now I'm going to hold you guys accountable because I've heard people in meetings say that kind of stuff. I have to do it or it won't get done. And the reality is that is not ours. And when I say ours, I mean the roots, the backgrounds that all of us in here came from. And I'm talking to my Black folks, I'm talking to my allies, right? We all come from ancestral roots that were not rooted in that. And so tonight, it's really important for us to begin to recognize what white supremacy dressed up as efficiency looks like. Because that's literally what you were telling yourselves, right? And that is the part that keeps us in bondage. So I'm here to let y'all be free, right? I'm going to give you guys the words. I'm going to give you guys the approaches to allow you guys to be free. And it was fascinating because when we were doing the walkthrough here yesterday, I was talking to somebody and she will go unnamed, but she shared, there's a dynamic in this community where I feel like sometimes we have like reverse Stockholm syndrome, where you'll have this like person who comes in dynamic, brilliant, right? Like all the things that you look for in a leader. And then all of a sudden, everything goes to that person, right? Like they're the one who's asked to be on every board. They're the one who's asked to speak at everything. They're the ones who's asked to kind of be the face of everything, right? I see some faces nodding. We can relate to this. Run that committee, join this board. But the challenge is that nobody ever asked that person what? Nobody ever asked that person, do you feel fully resourced? Taquana is laughing, right? Do you feel supported? And for those of you who might have been in that position, can you honestly ask yourself, have I ever been asked that? Like, has somebody actually taken a second to kind of see me as a human being trying to navigate all of these things? And then we wonder why folks flame out, right? Like if you're dealing with a lot of turnover, a lot of burnout, these are the patterns and the behaviors that we have learned that are causing us to get stuck, right? And the reality is that that is not leadership. That is extraction. Again, rooted in the history of slavery and white supremacy in this country. Right? So many of our ancestors, Black folks, Irish folks, Asian folks were brought in here to literally be used to extract. It's a learned behavior. It's a programming. And the reality is that we were not raised on ladders. We were raised in circles. We were raised in circles. Our inheritance is collectivism. It is. Like it is our core value. It's the kitchen table. Right? Like it's the prayer circle, it's the porch, it's the potluck. When I think about the origins of this organization, the NAACP, that is how movements were built. They weren't built with somebody sitting over in the corner here, somebody over here, somebody over here. So we've got to get back to who we are. We've got to unlearn a lot of the things that we have forgotten. And I'm the first one to say that I forgot for a long time, right? I was in corporate leadership. I was climbing the ladder. You guys heard my receipts, checking all the boxes, doing all the right things, and yet completely killing myself. And even then, I'm killing myself. I kept saying, let me keep pushing through. Like, let me just keep pushing through. Because somewhere along the way, I had internalized this idea that rest was not my right. Rest had to be earned, right? Rest was something that required work, but it wasn't a requirement to actually allow the work to happen. So this is where I begin to encourage you all to invite yourself to begin to tell yourself the power is actually not in the working more, it's in the resting more. The power is in putting the pause first, so you have the capacity to be able to go out and do the work that you want to do. And in my situation, it took me dealing with a very, very devastating, debilitating autoimmune condition. Because the ease that I was working so hard for never came. And instead it was this: inflammation, ulcers on my skin, fatigue, being in the hospital for days and days and days, hooked up to tubes, like literally my body rejecting the life that I was living. Your body will talk to you, y'all. Your body will talk to you. If you are hearing your body say you're tired, it means you're tired. It doesn't mean keep going. Right? And it's funny because the first time I experienced an episode, I mean, these are photos from me kind of years in. Like this was a 10-year saga for me. And the very first time that I experienced my first ulcer, I had actually worked a 14-hour day. I was working for a large community bank in Los Angeles. We were dealing with the height of the '08 financial crisis, so you can imagine what was going on. The organization was probably going to go out of business if I did not do a big part of my work, and I had a big deck due. And the irony is that I had been limping around all day, but I had to get that deck done. I got that deck done, but by the time I got to my car and I finally looked down at my feet, I noticed that my ankle was so swollen I couldn't see my foot. Like that just gives you context around the programming that I was operating under. And ultimately, this is what ambition looked like for me. Right? Like no work in the world was actually going to allow me to begin to get the relief and the rest that I wanted. And I was showing up to work like this. I was cute. I had my little Jimmy Choos on, but literally limping in pain, right? Smiling, but absolutely my body was burning from the inside out. And when I talk about ulcers, I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what it looks like. Like this is how it starts. See that little blister? And for those of you who've never experienced ulcers, an ulcer happens basically because my immune system can't tell the difference between healthy and bad cells. So it just comes and starts killing very natural, healthy skin. And then before you know it, I get a little blister like this. And the idea, the process of getting a blister, the only thing I can use to describe it is like having a blowtorch run up and down your leg for 7 days. Like it's painful. And at one point I had 8 of these open on my legs at one time. So that's just context to help you understand how lost I was, the programming that I was dealing with. And it was because I thought resting meant failure. I thought resting meant if I don't do this, my organization is going to go under, right? And these are the things that I had to deal with. This is a photo of me in the hospital for like the 15th time, y'all. And you can't really tell in this picture, but I'm 100 pounds. I'm a solid like 160 now. So my stuff is back. But back then, it was not a pretty picture. I was looking like a skeleton. And I laugh because I have a mask on and I'm holding up the peace sign, but the mask is a literal mask and an emotional mask because I'm pretending that everything's going to be okay, right? But inside I was terrified. I was terrified. And it wasn't until one of my dear friends, Ida, who is in this photo to the left, who had come to visit me, and she saw me hooked up to all these machines, tubes everywhere. I'm talking about all the things that I'm going to do once I get out. She finally shook me. And she put a mirror up to me, kind of like those girlfriends, those guy friends who come to you and they finally like see you fully. And she said something that changed my life. She was like, Kibi, you brilliant. And she came at me hard. She was like, bitch, you have an Emmy. You have worked with CEOs. You have advised people from all over this world. You have traveled to places that many of us can only dream of. So I do not understand why you will not use all that brilliance to heal yourself. Even when I think about it now, it makes me emotional because the idea that I could not see myself enough to believe I was worthy of my own brilliance hits me. And it was in that moment, as she was leaving, that she asked me the pivotal question that really changed everything for me. And it was what brought me here today. And it was simply this: why are you so afraid to rest, Kibi? Why are you so afraid to rest? I'm going to pause here and I'm going to ask you guys, for any of you who have done a 10th of what I've done, pushed through, told your body the pain doesn't matter, sat through meetings knowing that you're exhausted. Why are you so afraid to rest? It's a pivotal question because I had to understand through my vision, through my work, that no one had ever asked me that question before, not like that. And I realized in that moment that I wasn't even afraid of dying. Like, that's how crazy it was. I was more afraid of disappointing people. People who loved me, people who wanted me to be around. I was so consumed with that. I couldn't even see that I was killing myself. And it was the disappointment. It was the fear of being seen as weak. It was the, fear of being seen as somebody who couldn't keep up. It was this mindset that I had confused my productivity with my worth for a long time. And again, I'm going to ask you guys, how many of you all are in this internal battle right now? You're confusing your productivity with your worth. You're not seeing the value that you actually bring to people. And I couldn't tell where one ended and one began, right? And so this is where this idea of making sure you're recognizing the true cost of this narrative, right? And this slide is really important because in my research around understanding how do I get out of this cycle I'm in, one of the things that hit me was this headline, "Only the Overworked Die Young," which was a Harvard medical study. And basically it's very simple. People who work 55 hours a week or more versus those who work more standard 40 hours a week have a 13% higher increase in the likelihood of a heart attack and a 33% increase in the likelihood of a stroke. Doesn't mean how much you could eat you could eat great, you could be working out. If you are working those hours, the likelihood is the end is death. And so that's why there's such an urgency here. Because again, the movements need you. The movements need you to be able to be here. And the irony is that as I began to look at this, you're thinking, well, maybe if I get a new management plan, right? Like maybe if I get a new time management system, let me get a new planner, right? Like, let me work a little bit more efficiently. It wasn't a fancy planner. It wasn't a new team. It wasn't any of those things that helped me finally heal. What do you guys think it was? Pausing completely. Now, I had the opportunity to take a full year off. But you could see how horrible my body was, so I didn't needed that. And at the end of the day, it was the pause completely that actually allowed me to stop performing leadership and actually live it, like to be an example of it. And so for you guys in this room who are leaders, how much are you performing leadership for those you are influencing, and how much are you living it? Right? For those of you who are parents, how much are you performing what it looks like to be an active, worth-filled human being for your kids? Or how much are you performing it? Because my mom didn't rest. Like I didn't get an example of this as a little kid, right? And when we think about our ancestors and the sacrifices that they had to go to, I want to make sure we don't forget that we do have privilege now. And are we just letting it go? Right? Like, are we squandering it because we're not actually connected to it? And so that's why I'm here, right? I really want to be able to encourage folks in rooms like this across the country to invite you to a new way, a more sustainable way, a communal way. All right. So I'm going to spend the latter part of my time talking about how. So there's a couple of key shifts that I want to make sure everybody kind of taps into. And I want to create a little bit of space for folks to give me some feedback, kind of what's coming up. So the first thing is this idea of shifting from a mindset of scarcity to abundance. Again, we have been trained to see rest through a lens of scarcity, right? The first time somebody says, you know what, you look tired. You might want to go home and take a nap. What do we say? What's going to go wrong if I'm not here? Yeah, somebody's laughing, right? What opportunities are going to miss if I'm not here? I'm not going to get that big donor call, right? I'm not going to be able to, I don't know. Fill in the blanks. Like you guys have your lives. Like I don't need to put it in there for you, right? What are people going to think if I say no? Are they going to see me as selfish? Are they going to see me as not a team player? That's where we start. It's a scarcity mindset. And so first up, we got to flip those. So immediately when somebody says you look tired, the answer is, you know what? What can happen if I go take a break? What brilliance might I be able to produce when I come back? What solutions might I be able to find, right? What can go right if I pause? What can go right if I move from this idea of urgency to one of clarity? It's a simple shift, very hard to do because that programming is deep, but it is a first step to be able to give yourself permission to do it more, right? Because I'm going to tell you this again. You're not getting the results that you want, not because you're not working hard enough. It's because you're not resting enough. Full stop. And I have data from my own life. I have data from clients that I've been working with and teaching on this. I will guarantee you, if you start moving in this way, you will get data yourself. You will absolutely get better results if you start from a place of pause versus a place of exhaustion. Awesome. All right. As I shared, rest is an act of trust, y'all. It's an act of trust. And trust is the soil where clarity grows. Trust is the place where ideas are generated. Trust is the place where training and coaching and development happens. And I want to ask each of you guys in the room, especially if you're leading an organization, maybe raising human beings, how many of you all are thinking about succession planning now? You got one, two, why?
Why am I thinking?
Yep.
Because I know I won't be here forever.
Yeah, in the back with the green jacket. Why are you thinking about it now? Yeah. Right? You cannot build a legacy for your movement if you're not thinking about succession planning now. So for those of you who didn't raise your hand, this is a call to action for you all. How are you thinking about this now? And the reality is you cannot do succession planning when you're drowning. You can't. You will not have the capacity to do it right. And if you are not thinking about building your legacy today, you are literally leaving your legacy to chance, because tomorrow isn't promised. And we all know that. We wake up every day and it's a gift that we're able to still be here. So how do you create more margin in your life for you to actually observe, for you to train, for you to find talent, right? For you to actually create space to say, I see you, I believe in you, and let's build together, right? So that's where this idea of shifting to a mindset of abundance really comes into play, because that kind of legacy building can only happen when we stop reacting and when we actually pause and create some margin for us to think differently. All right. The second shift is me care to we care. And this is one of my favorites, especially when I'm talking to organizations who are about community, who are about elevating and levitating. And I want to talk about self-care for a minute, right? Because we've all heard the idea of, I need some self-care, right? Take care of yourself. Self-care Sundays. Put yourself first, right? Raise your hand. How many of you guys have tap into this $500 billion self-care industry? 500 billion with a B, right? Here's the thing. I love a massage like everybody. Anybody want to make me smile? Buy me a massage. Literally take me to the spa. I love it. I'm not knocking it. The challenge is that with self-care, oftentimes we are told, and it's been sold to us in the mindset of we have to remove ourselves from everybody in order to do it. And the reality is, when self-care becomes what I call me care, the likelihood of me doing it goes drastically down, because I don't want to feel guilty, right? Like, who wants to be feeling guilty all the time when you're at the spa and you're thinking about, oh my God, I'm letting my other people down, right? It's about me. It's about me. And I want to do things that are actually going to happen, right? Like, I'm like, how do we create a structure where you're actually doing things that are going to actually get you the results that you want, right? So me care is all about, I'm the only one who can do it, right? Me care is rooted in this idea of, if I'm not there, things are falling apart. It's rooted in this idea that if I rest, I'm failing my mission, right? And so that's where we want to make sure we're checking in, right? Be honest, who here has skipped rest because they didn't trust their team? They didn't trust their husband? They didn't trust their kids? Right? They didn't trust somebody to do it right. Listen, I am the biggest control freak of all up in here, y'all. So seriously, you guys saw what was going on in my body for 10 years, right? Like, control freak to the 10th degree. And I just need to say something to y'all, and I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to y'all about here. You're just not that important. Like, you're not that important. Right? Because again, tomorrow isn't promised. If you drop dead today, God forbid, what happens tomorrow? Absolutely. So this is the reason why we have to begin to shift from this idea of me care to what I describe as we care, right? We care says, I trust people to carry things, even if it may not be exactly the way I would have done it. Right? Me care says I'm not abandoning others when I pause, but instead it means I'm showing up for them better when I come back. Right? We care is my rest blesses everyone I lead. My rest becomes a love language. Let rest become your love language to the people around you. So your decision to take an hour out of your night to come here is a love language to those who you love. Saying, yes, I want to do things to help me show up for you in the most abundant, rest-filled, idea-rich kind of version of myself that I can be, right? Because when you rest, what happens? When you rest, what happens? You get refreshed. What else? Energy. You're more present. You've got more patience. You're not popping off on people, right? Like when you think about it, you're like, yeah, I'm actually nicer when I rest, right? But it's that programming. It's that programming. And I want to ask you guys to just think about this. Our ancestors weren't allowed to rest. They weren't. If they rested, they would die. They would get beat, right? Like they didn't have the privilege because it was such a risk. It was dangerous. So if we, who have inherited the fight, right? We're still fighting the fights of our ancestors, but if we still continue to treat rest like it's optional, what is that saying about their sacrifice? How does that honor it? Like, this is the way that I want to make sure you guys are thinking about this from the context of it, right? Whatever entry point you can come in, I just want you to take 30 seconds, 30 minutes, a day, a week to begin to give yourself the rest. I see somebody yawning. Allow yourself to let that be a message. Let me go sleep. Don't go get coffee. Don't go get, Red Bull, all that kind of stuff. We are the first generation, you guys, with the privilege to pause. We can't waste that power. We cannot waste that power. So I know I've been talking to you guys for a long time, and I appreciate your presence. I do want to actually allow for a moment for us to listen to what our body is telling us. Right? I want to give you an opportunity to bring this kind of back into the room more collectively and take a minute and ask yourself, what's one burden you are ready to put down? And what kind of rest have you been denying yourself? And I'm one of these people that defines rest as doing anything that gives you joy. Like I redefine rest. It's not about necessarily taking a vacation. It's like, what gives me joy? So when was the last time you guys thought about what gives you joy? And then when have you actually done that? That's really the question, right? So think about it. 30 seconds. Those 2 prompts. And then I want you to turn to somebody else sitting next to you, behind you, wherever you are. And I want you to share one area where you need help and one thing you can offer someone else in this room. Because again, this is about how do we do this collectively? How do we continually act with the understanding that we are not in this alone? Like you have a community. All right, so let's do it. Turn to somebody, find somebody.
When I know my standards are too high sometimes.
Welcome back. How was that? How often do you guys do that for each other? I'd love to hear from somebody. What did you learn about the person you were sitting next to? Anybody care to share? I'll call you out. So who's smiling? Who do I want to? I want to hear from you because I've been looking at your smile all night.
Oh no.
What's your name?
I'm Jared.
Okay. Hi, Jared.
Thank you. Hi. I shared a bunch with Brian and Jane. I overshared as I do And that's what I do. I talk too much and I beat myself up about talking too much. Brian knows that. And I'm trying to find a happy medium with that and like keep working on it, but also just accept it, like put that down. Like,
So
that's
is
who
that
I
one,
am. I talk too
is that one thing you need help with?
I need help with, yes, I need help
Not
with
talking
putting,
so
I
much?
need help with not talking so much. So you give me a microphone, but then, but I also am also kind of coming around just really within the last few days to saying, you know, I keep beating myself up about this but it's not making me talk any less. So maybe I just need to relax about that and just stop worrying about it so much. So
Yeah, well, I mean, as we think about this idea of what I can offer someone else, who has a solution
oh,
to
please
help this gentleman learn how to perhaps talk a little bit less? Anybody? Besides taking the mic away, anybody? Has anybody else dealt with this problem? See somebody in the back. What's up? What do you have to share to help this gentleman?
Oh, thank you. Sometimes being the third or fourth person to talk instead of the first person, and building a noticing of how often the same people are the first person in this town.
Okay. Some real truth coming out, right? Like that's what this is about. How do you rest in community? How do you actually speak in truth? How exhausted are you perhaps because you maybe, I don't know, are the first person who speaks? How do you perhaps let somebody who may not necessarily be somebody who is so verbose or maybe an extrovert actually share ideas? These are some ways that we can begin to learn how to be there for other people, right? To actually allow somebody who may be quiet, but still has brilliant ideas actually show up. Yeah. Anybody else want to share? I'm looking at you. You look like
Mic for Zoom. Okay, what I think I can offer someone else is I'm a person who likes to be behind the scenes. And I love to be the person who empowers someone else. And so it brings me great joy to be able to see these nuggets in other people and see them succeed. I love that.
So you're a coach, basically.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna put a label on it.
But I see it in everyone. So I've had a career where I've lived overseas most of my life, and I grew up in Spokane. And I think that leads me to the one thing I struggle with. And
which is
so I've lived mostly in Africa. I've lived in Africa and Asia, and I grew up in Spokane, and it's a little bit of a transition to come back to a community that's not quite as diverse.
Yeah.
And just to be able to navigate that and to navigate it, I think in an authentic way and in a way that, I don't know, with some amount of positivity, but I don't know.
Some hope.
Like the things that come with that and the complexities.
I love it. Thank you for that share. So who here can relate? Anybody? Raise your hands. Yes, we got to see it. This is how you begin to be a support to her, right? Like this is the work, you guys. This is the work. How do we get honest about where we are in our capacity so we can actually go to other people and say, I need your help, right? Again, you are not alone. And so if you're exhausted, it's because you're telling yourself a lie. So how do we start telling ourselves the truth? And the truth is only tellable if people start saying it. Right. So much about this work is also about being willing to be a little vulnerable, but being willing to be honest about where your areas of gap are and where your areas of strength are. And then sharing that across and allowing the idea of, hey, I got you here. You go rest. And then you can come back and then you can get me. Like that's how this works. I want to shout out the person who I spoke with in the back, Yasar, who has two beautiful children. Do you mind if I share a little bit about what you share? Awesome. So Yashar had his, I think, first son young. And so now that he's a little bit older and he has two more, he's now beginning to understand perhaps some of the things he didn't do so well when he was younger. And so he wants to be there for his kids in like an expansive way, almost to the point where he doesn't really have time for himself. And so one of the things that he was like, I need help with is like, how do I make time for me? Like, how do I create space? So I wondered if there are any parents out here folks who've been there, maybe your kids are adults, who actually could perhaps give some insight, some ideas, some advice. He's running an organization that's rooted in this idea of building and defining young people. And so I put that out there. If there's somebody in the room, raise your hand who might be able to chat with him. Yes. And if you don't know each other, make sure you connect, right? This is how this works. It doesn't happen if you just listen to me. You have to put it into action, right? This is what happens when we rest in community. This is what we care looks like in action. And I want to make sure that you guys are able to connect to that because, again, you are not alone. That is a lie. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. There are people in this room who can help you. So if anyone in this room is sharing a piece of what you need, you've got to make sure that you create space to receive it. And that can only be done if you pause. Right? Like we've been here for almost an hour and a half, and that's the way you're able to really do this. All right. So I want to finish with a couple more things, and then I want to create some space for some conversation. Like if you guys have questions, anything I'm sharing pops up that seems weird. This mindset of urgency, of exhaustion, of pushing yourself to the brink, no matter what, it is programming. Like it is programming. And I can't say that enough. And anything that has been programmed can be reprogrammed. And so that's what this idea of becoming a rested rebel is about. How do we reprogram ourselves to begin to think in a way that puts rest first? And I love this idea of Neo in the Matrix. I'm gonna finish with this. Y'all seen the Matrix? Yes, I love that movie, right? Have you guys realized, and it hit me as I was like doing a lot of work around rest, like I'm always looking for good analogies here. So you know at the end when he finally like activates his full power and he's fighting all the different people and then everything all of a sudden starts slowing down. At his most powerful, he is going slow. That is what this is like. We got to get out of the matrix. We got to take, what was it, the red pill or the green pill? Y'all keep me honest. I don't remember. But whatever pill, the blue pill, okay. Whatever pill, we've got to take it to wake up. Because the messaging, the signals, your body is talking to you, it's all around you. And that's what this is about, right? Because you can't change the game if you're too tired to see the board. And so for all of us out here who are really trying to work to change the game, we've got to make sure that we are taking time to see the board. So before I close, at least my part of this, I want to invite you to take one small step, right? This week, oh, why is my thing looking so crazy? Oh, anyway, sorry. I want you to make a commitment to yourself, right? Feel free to write it on a sticky, just so we can write it down. If you guys have the stickies around, put it on your phone. I want you to finish this statement. This week, I commit to resting by. And again, I define rest as doing anything that gives you joy. All right, so this week, I commit to resting by. 30 minutes, y'all. Start small. All right, so when you guys finish this, and I want you to make this promise to me, at least do this. I want you to hand it to somebody, a complete stranger. Someone you do not know. No, complete stranger. Complete stranger, somebody you may not have engaged with. Now, mind you, this is a small community, so you guys may have known each other, but somebody you don't spend a lot of time with. Let's just put it that way, right? And I want you to hand it to them because you just have found a new accountability partner, right? Again, this is about making sure you stay connected. I love it. I love it. I know, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm going to bring your attention back real quick because I just want to make sure that I close this out. I love it. Hold on, pause the conversations. I want you guys to have a little bit more time. I do just want to finish this out, and I want to open it up for questions. I know y'all are ready to talk. I love it. I want to hear from you. I just want to end with this, you guys, real quick, before we shift to conversation. Rest is your right. Rest is your right. It is your birthright, right? You are not weak. You are not behind. You are not alone. You are allowed to rest and still lead. Right? So if there's anything that I leave you with today, it is this mantra that I like to say. Thank you for showing up for yourselves, right? Like, thank you for showing up for each other. Thank you for showing up for me. I really received this. I appreciate it. And let this be the beginning, not the end of your rested rebel leadership. All right? Thank you all for paying attention. I appreciate you. If you're interested, I do have a couple of additional events happening. I'm doing something called a Rested Rebel Summer Camp this year in late July. June 27th to July 25th. If anybody's interested in being connected, maybe getting involved, resting in community, there's a Rested Rebel community all over the world. Please take a shot of the QR code. It'll sign you up, and it'll get you in the mix, so when I start announcing it, you'll hear about it clearly. Also, I have a newsletter where I give a lot of tips, a lot of reinforcement, a lot of accountability. So if that's something that's helpful, please take a look at it. And I want to open it up for questions, comments, feedback. What if anything I shared is like, that's bull crap, Kibi, I do not believe you? Or something that really resonated? Thoughts, reactions. What's coming up? I want to hear from you guys, seriously. As I'm working through this, I'm doing it around the country. I'm always intrigued to hear what people's thoughts are. Yes, in the back. Oh, can you pass it to him? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Eliezer. Just be honest, because of my background and whatever is in the air and whatever is happening all over the world, I'm still skeptical. I feel like rest is too expensive because, for example, context is, for example, you see this financial literacy stuff, right? How to get out of debt or something like that. Yet those solutions are also solutions created in privilege, because someone who has never been in privilege cannot just do a snowball effect to get rid of debt. That is their entire life. Just using that as an example. So how do I still walk? I do believe, but help my unbelief.
Yes.
So still skeptical.
I get it. You're
what
like,
do I do?
Was that Peter who said, help my unbelief? Listen, I understand. There's a couple of things I want to respond to that, because I do get a lot of this. Kibi, you can rest. You got a job. You did this. Like, I don't have the resources to rest. So one of the things that I didn't really go into in this thing is I actually redefine rest as doing anything that gives you joy. I've said that a couple of times. Right? So if you've never sat and just asked yourself, when was the last time I did something for the joy of it? For asking nothing in return. For me, that's bike riding, right? That's reading books. That's talking to people. Like, you can rest in community, right? Like, for me, coaching is very, very rest filled. So to me, that is how you begin to obliterate this idea that rest is only for the rich. Because I do not believe it. It's a lie. Like, if you cannot go outside and do something that gives you joy, the things you did when you were 4, that is you telling yourself and buying into this idea that you are not worthy of rest, even if it's on a small scale. So that's the first thing. This is why I say 30 minutes. What does that look like? The other thing that I want to ask you here, specifically for you, and you mentioned the kind of financial literacy and that rest is expensive. When I say to you, rest is an act of trust, what I begin to wonder is, what are you not trusting? So what are you not trusting about yourself? What are you not trusting about the resources?
To be honest, is I still feel like I don't belong yet. And so coming here to Spokane as a transplant, there's still that thing. I'm an American, yes, but from Africa, they still tell me, well, you ain't from here. So there's that thing. So I don't trust the system from a young age. I don't trust anything. There's still
I want to be clear. You don't trust the system?
Yes.
Absolutely. You should not trust the system. But do you trust people? Is there anybody, you're here, so there's something about this space that feels safe to you.
Yeah.
So who here have you actually shared, hey, I don't feel safe and I'm concerned that because I don't belong, I may not be able to take care of myself financially?
I use the financial as an example of
I'm gonna pause. What the question?
Okay.
Answer the question.
Is because I see people and I see people with their various burdens, I don't ask them or I don't talk to them.
So to me, that is perpetuating this idea that you assume everybody in this room doesn't care about you. And in this room, how much do you guys like being described as people who don't give a fuck about people? It's a lie. It's not true. And you're going to stay stuck until you decide to say, I'm going to believe not in the scarcity, but in the abundance. It's very simple. If you tell yourself that you are alone, you will manifest being alone. This is the reason why I've said this so many times. You are not alone. There is a whole room full of people here. So either you walk the mission or you don't walk the mission. This isn't complicated. What happens is we start telling ourselves narratives that reinforce the fear. And the truth is, fear and love cannot exist in the same space at the same time. They cannot. So first, if you're a person of faith, I'm looking at you sideways because you spoke scripture to me. So what you're telling me is you do not think that your God is going to do what he promised to do for you. That's the first thing. The second thing is there is a room full of people here you've not given an opportunity to show up for you differently. I got to do it myself. I'm the only person. I'm alone. This is what this whole conversation is about. How do we shift that narrative and do one of two things? Shift from a scarcity mindset to abundance, shift from an idea of me care to we care, and actually live it. I have a whole curriculum. I do like 6 month tutorial. Like group coaching on this. I just gave y'all 2. Start small and activate it. That's the charge. Because if you don't, the truth is you will all fail. And I don't want to see you guys fail. Like you're here because you care. So show that, act it. That's really my charge to you all tonight. Move like rested rebels. Rest, but then rebel. Rebel against the programming, rebel against this idea that you're out here by yourself. That is the opportunity here. So I hope that gives you a little bit of something to chew on.
I receive.
April. Yes.
Microphone, please. Wait for the microphone. When trying to navigate community and build relationships, how do you recommend not carrying bad interactions into new interactions?
Shift to an abundance mindset.
What does that mean? Like,
so if your
X person did this, and it's a small community, right?
Yeah.
You're probably going to come across this person again.
Yeah.
Or there's influence with who those people know.
Yeah.
How do you walk into a new situation knowing that
with the same person or with new people?
Maybe or maybe not.
Well, listen, I'm not going to tell you guys to not trust your instinct. Like your body's talking to you. If somebody has demonstrated over and over and over and over and over again that they don't have your best interest at heart, I'm not asking you to go back there and try and put yourself in pain. Like that's not a wise decision.
But how do you also continue to build community while protecting yourself? Because this is where the trust thing is, right? That boundary.
Yeah,
so how do you grapple boundaries and trust with also building and having abundance?
Start small, right? Listen, I'm not going to say that there isn't baggage, that there aren't, remnants of stuff that's happened that's still here. Today is a new day, and every single day you have an opportunity to make a different choice, right? So if that means, hey, maybe I shift from that person, I shift over here. And instead of thinking they're going to do the same thing that person did, let's create some space for some honest conversation. Hey, you know what? When this person did this last time, it really triggered me. So I'm not even sure how we're going to do this, but I want to move with an abundance mindset. I'm going to actually ask and give you an opportunity to show me what can go right if we try. Like, it's not rocket science, y'all. Like, we are human beings. It's about having an honest conversation, listening to what your gut says, and then moving through the anxiety anyway to give somebody an opportunity to show you. Now, the other side of the coin is if they show you, listen. And then go and tell other people, this person is not doing and activating the way that we want them to. So we might want to rethink how much we bring them into key situations. I'm not telling you to ostracize stuff, but this is about leadership. So how do you set a tone at the top? So that way you are actively walking in how you want these kids, these young people, folks who are coming after you to move. I'm not saying it's easy, you guys. Like I said, I give you very simple concepts so that way you can move and try them out in increments. But the only way you make change is you decide to do something different. Like, I'm a coach, like literally. You can choose to listen to one narrative and you will get the results, or you can choose to listen to another narrative. And for my clients in the room, I say this a lot. Is your goal to be right, or is your goal to move forward? Right, because you can come up with all kinds of reasons for me around why somebody ain't SHIT. Okay, so we sitting here talking about somebody who ain't. Where does that get us? Right, so we got to think about moving forward because there is so much coming at us. Like, the problems that we need to deal with are way bigger than perhaps something that somebody did because they're dealing with their own trauma. They have their own baggage. They have their own fear. Right, and we can get into like ways practically. One of the things I encourage my clients to do whenever you're dealing with somebody who's a problem is I say, visualize them as a child. Think about them as a 4-year-old. It changes things. Like, how would you deal with a 4-year-old? Would you cuss them out, or would you maybe give them a hug? Would you use words that are, well, again, I'm not, listen, I'm here for 90 minutes, right? But I'm just saying, I'm giving you tools. I'm not gonna step it in. I know some of the stuff. I'm not here completely dead, but my point is, again, this is a day by day, individual by individual combat sport. Back in the civil rights movement, there was mess, y'all. Like, it's not like there wasn't mess. And yet they figured out ways to get around those tables. Like I said, we didn't grow in ladders, we grew in circles. So you can, you know how people like protect the baby elephant, you know, like they get, like, that's it. Right? So maybe you protect that person, get them out of the way, protect them from themselves. And then have the folks, he's laughing, have the folks who actually have the emotional maturity, who have the tools, who have the skills, who can train the folks, actually be there on the front lines. Yes. She's like, Priya's getting her exercise in today, y'all. Shout out for Priya. Say thank you. Yes.
Okay, so my name is Nikita, and before I used to rest quite a lot, but you mentioned rest isn't necessarily like pausing, but it's doing something you enjoy. How do I find out? I don't know what I enjoy anymore in terms of resting. And when I try to do things I used to enjoy, I don't necessarily like them, or I don't necessarily find rest in them. And I don't know. And when I take time to rest, I find that I don't know what to do. So then I just like waste my time or go back to work.
Okay. So you said like 3 different questions here, right? So I just want to get them. The first one is, how do I remember what I love to do? How many of you guys have that challenge? Right? Like, we're so caught up in the work, we don't actually remember like who we are as a human being. Like, what are the things that gave us joy? So I always say, think about the stuff you did when you were a child. Right? Like, so close your eyes and imagine when you were like 4 or 5 and you had an afternoon. What are the things you just got up and did? We're outside till the street lights came on. Begin to really tap into some of that stuff. So that's the first place to start, right? What's something you used to do, even as we're thinking here? Read. How often do you read now? Doing no monetary, no expectation on it. You just did it for the joy of it. So that's a place to start. Literally carve out 15 minutes, maybe before you go to bed, 5 minutes. Like I'm a big Atomic Habits fan. Have you guys ever read that book? by James Clear. If you haven't read it, read it. If you're struggling with finding ways to give yourself permission to rest, even 5 minutes will do wonders for you. It will. And if you do it over time, if you build the habit, you will absolutely see a difference in your energy, right? So that's one of the reasons why I redefine rest, because I would sleep, I would go on vacations, I would do meditation retreats, and I would come back still exhausted. But when I went skating with friends, when I would go for walks, I also love reading. I would do puzzles. I felt so rested. It's like, oh my God. And I could do it in community. I didn't have to be by myself because I would go to the skating rink with my friends, right? So that's how you're able to do something, what I call rest in a more harmonious way, where rest and work actually get to coexist. And you can give yourself credit perhaps for doing resting when you may not think you're resting, because you've defined it as these like 3 things. So that's this, I think that's the second question. The third question you said was, do you remember? No?
If I don't enjoy the things I used to enjoy, how do I find new things?
Who got answers for her on that one? How do you guys find new things you like? What's your name? Pedro? Angel. Oh, Angel.
Correct. Keep an open mind. Like, give it time. It's you're not gonna find your new favorite hobby in the next 5 minutes or in the next week.
Yeah.
That comes with time, and be open to new experiences.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything recently where you're like, oh, that seems kind of cool? What? Well, you got a what?
I got a really good matcha latte.
Ooh, who else likes matcha lattes? Look at that. You got a whole community of people you can go try matcha lattes with and see if you like it. That's the idea. I also say Groupon. For those of you, listen, Groupon got all kinds of stuff. You just want to try stuff out for $20. Like, I'm a big fan of just going down the list and seeing what's there. Awesome. All right. I think we may have one more time for one more question. Okay, we'll do 2. Go ahead, Angel.
What if what I like to do can be bad for me?
Ooh. Well, what does bad for you mean? Let's define that. Like, it could actually kill you, like harmful to your body?
Like damaging your organs.
Yeah. The reality is, there are a lot of things that we like, vices, that at the end of the day do not allow us to be sustainable leaders. It's the truth, right? So this is where this idea of wisdom has to come in, and really asking yourself what your goal is, right? Some of us here are like, I don't care if I die tomorrow. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just about being honest about what your goal is. Because if your goal is really to build legacy, if your goal is to really be able to be there for your community, if your goal is to really have the capacity and the mental fortitude for the long-term fight, then you have to begin to make wise decisions for that goal. So it's really about, what is your goal? And again, I am a coach that does not layer in judgment. Are you getting the results that you want? That's always the question I'm going to ask you. I don't know. You know the answer to that. So then you got to ask yourself why, right? This is where we get back to rest as an act of trust. So what are you perhaps not trusting that something else that maybe doesn't have the impact on your body negatively can give you the same feeling that you're looking for? Somebody out here who may have a vice challenge and who has figured out how to overcome that, help Angel in the back, perhaps. All right, go ahead. Yes, she's coming with the mic.
How do you've mastered rest, but you're trying to protect it, not being pulled out in all different directions. And when you are, how do you find your way back into it?
The way I do it, honestly, is I ask myself that question: what are you not trusting right now, Kibi? Because the reality is, you're always going to be pulled into 5 million directions. Like, that's never going to change. You know, you have a heart for service. You care about people. You clearly have brilliant ideas. So everyone is going to want to get access to your gifts. So one of the things I oftentimes talk about around rest, how do you rest, is boundaries. Like, no is a complete sentence, y'all. You've got to be able to practice that. Yeah. So the answer to your question is, you just got to say no. And if you're struggling with saying no, like listen to your body. Our bodies are so like loquacious. They're talking to us all the time. I know. But the reality is they only have kind of two sides. Your body can only speak in two kind of things. It'll say it to you like my ankle's hurting, my head's hurting, like it'll give you, but it's really saying yes or no. That's it. Our body only speaks in yes or no. Our mind, infinite. And for those of you who maybe are struggling with this idea of overthinking, like when somebody asks you and you get caught up, your body is saying like, absolutely not, I'm tired, I want to go home, but your mind kicks in. There's a book called The 5-Second Rule. If you've never read it, Mel Robbins, really brilliant. I would encourage you read it. Her theory is that it takes 5 seconds for the brain to talk your body out of its truth. 5 seconds. So anytime you find yourself waffling where you're like, should I do it? Should I not do it? I feel bad. Your brain's talking your body out. Your body is telling you you don't have capacity for this. And so this is where we get into this we care mindset, right? Like, how do you not move through the world thinking I'm the only one who can do it? If I don't show up, it's going to fall apart. And actually, as we did, partner. Hey, you know what? I can't make it to tonight's meeting, but I wonder if you could perhaps, lobby for me, be there for me. Like, here's what I need. Like, let's talk about how we do this. Strategize. So there's sustainability across the community. But again, anytime you start overthinking, you are getting into this dilemma where you are not trusting that rest will get you what you want. So for me, it's always, what are you not trusting, Kibi? And if you're not, and when you finish, if you can figure out what you're not trusting, then you can solve the problem. So if you're saying, I don't trust that they can do this, what you're telling me is you haven't trained them properly. The ego for you. Right? Like this is not complicated, right? Like if you're telling yourself that I can't afford it, what it means is that you don't actually believe that the universe is going to provide. Like you don't believe that there is abundance in this world. Money is never your problem, y'all. There's so much money in the world. She looked at me sideways. She was like, what you mean? There is so much money in the world. Money is not your problem. Your problem is you don't know who to ask. You're not willing to ask. You're not willing to get out and network. You're not willing to say what you need. You're not willing to do the work to improve upon your pitch to get a, that's what it really means. Come for me.
So as somebody who does a lot of fundraising all the time.
Please hold.
Where's the mic? We're talking about rest. We're talking about rest. And what you're talking about is excruciating work. And it isn't just physical work, it's mental work, right? Like over the past 5 years, I've been in a capital campaign for children, right? And so when I think about resting, and as you were talking, like my rest is I have a tree that is 6 blocks from my childcare center that when life is lifing, I go and I sit under my tree and I'm like, okay, here we go. That's my rest, right? But fundraising and like money not being an issue, no, money is an issue. And there's a lot of it out there, but for somebody like me, it's not accessible. And so the work of finding it, of perfecting that pitch deck, which I got one for you, that is a constant and consistent thing. So I think that, yeah, I definitely don't agree with that. I think money is
so I want to hear what you're saying. So you're saying that money is what?
Money is an issue and it is scarce for some of us. It is not, we talk about this issue of abundance versus scarcity or scarcity versus abundance. It is scarce. It just because it's abundant for everyone else or for other people. For me, it's not an abundance. And so it is a scarcity issue that I'm constantly fighting to overcome.
Got it. Okay. So I want to qualify myself. When I say money is not your problem, there is a lot of money in the world. Do you disagree with me on that?
Not at all. I agree.
So there is a lot of money in the world. Okay. So the question is, how do you get access to that money? Right? So that is a real challenge. I'm not trying to say that it's not hard to get access to money. What I'm saying is money is not your problem when it comes to the abundance of money in the world. Now, your challenges are real. So this is where this idea of shifting from I'm the only one who can do it. There's only one way to make this happen. Like we can sit here and just say, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money. Or we can actually start moving into a space of, okay, well, what do I do? What are perhaps the things that this lack of money might be telling me? Is there a pivot I need to make? Like, are there things that are going on that perhaps I'm not aware of? The idea of actually pausing is what I am advocating. So you can approach this from a much more proactive, strategic way. That's all I'm saying, right? Because if you tell yourself, I don't have time to rest because I have to make money, that's where you get stuck. Because you start seeing as money is the God, like money is the only thing that's going to solve this problem. And I'm trying to get us out of that because that actually keeps us with limited thinking. That's what I'm pushing back against. So I'm not telling you that the work isn't hard. Like this is hard work. Like, I mean, it's not easy. What I'm telling you is how you go about solving it is what I'm trying to shift. Because when you come to the table and you are exhausted, I mean, you are actually resting. So I'm like, yes, like you're going to your tree, you're taking the time. And I would imagine when you go there, you get ideas, you get energy. So you're doing the work, right? That's it. So for those people out here who may not be doing the work, this is what I'm pushing back against, right? Money is absolutely essential to doing this work. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is don't let the money issue be the reason why you don't rest. That's what I'm saying. All right. All right. How y'all feeling? Good? Okay. I hope you guys feel good. Listen, I could talk about this all day. So you guys got my information. Reach out to me. I love this. Again, I appreciate it.
This is Challenging the Narrative, a series that takes a hard look at some of the prevailing mindsets surrounding issues that impact our people of color in Spokane. We examine the facts and the stories behind what has occurred and what needs to be done to shift the narrative in our local community, evolving around civil rights and social justice. Journey with us, talk with us, change with us as we challenge the narratives.